Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a divorce, valuation, and mediation expert in St. Louis, Missouri. During this episode, we will discuss how to make uncomfortable situations comfortable with Mike Gregory. Mike is a mediator in Minneapolis, Minnesota, author of 13 books regarding various topics about valuation, collaboration, and the creator of the collaboration effect. The issues are so high conflict and the parties are so volatile because they haven't seen any resolution to the conflict that it's real easy for them to get angry. So how do we as mediators work with that or understand it first in order to do something?
Working with these neuroscientists, I've learned, and here's a fact that when you hear this, you go, really? We're 98% emotional and 2% rational. Gotta let that sink in a second. We tend to think maybe we're 50% logical, especially engineer, accountant, finance.
I thought I was 90% logical.
Yeah, right. Well, then I asked this question: how much is 2 plus 2?
4?
Out of the number 4. Yeah, and you said the number 4. Well, you gave yourself a drop of dopamine when you did that. You weren't even aware this happened, but you said you didn't do this. Yes, I got it. It's 4. Hey, Mike, I know what it is. You didn't do that, but you gave yourself a drop of dopamine. And in our brains, at the top of our brainstem is the amygdala. The amygdala is about the size of your thumbnails or 2 almonds, and the amygdala is there that if a lion or tiger is chasing you, your amygdala kicks in. You produce adrenaline, cortisol. You produce additional blood sugars. You can now run faster. You are stronger because your adrenaline is kicked in. But your brain can't differentiate the lion chasing you versus somebody did something to get you angry. Your brain says, I'm coming back in with a stimulus, which is going to impact me on what's called the stress response. And when the stress response kicks in, you flood yourself with these chemicals. So it's called flooding. You flood yourself with these chemicals and hormones. And when you flooded, the number of transmissions to your brain is radically reduced by about a factor of 90%. And now when I'm angry at you, all I see is you, and I'm not listening, and I'm telling you, I don't even know what's going on around me. I'm just angry. And that's flooding. Now, you have 6 to 10 seconds from the time when you have a trigger and something's gotten you, started to get you angry. You know it because that trigger is just gone. They just said something and that's the trigger. Or they just done something and that's the trigger. You have 6 to 10 seconds to stop yourself from getting angry. And once you do get angry, those chemicals and hormones stay with you for up to 22 hours or until you've had a sleep cycle. So you can't just say, when I got angry, I'm okay an hour later. Actually, you can go off just like that because you've got the chemicals and hormones there, so you are ready to go. Having said that, how can you overcome that? Well, one of the things is to know when the trigger starts, you feel the trigger, and in the front of your brain is the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex overrides the amygdala. It's 5% of the brain in terms of size, but it's 25% of the energy in the brain. Well, that thing can get overworked. The prefrontal cortex needs a break. So like your computer, you turn it off and you can reboot it. You need to do that for yourself. Well, they've come back on neuroscience and said, the ideal way to do that as a minimum is 10 minutes a day of mindfulness. And that mindfulness can be prayer or reflection or meditation or yoga. But taking the time to clear the prefrontal cortex, studies have said in as little as 21 days, we can show you're more relaxed, you're calmer, you get less excited, you take things as they come, you're more apt to listen to others. But now I'm in a mediation and somebody's about to go. And we haven't, that's what you can do for yourself, but you're in a mediation, somebody's about to go. I look right at them and I will ask them a question. It may have nothing to do with what we just are now talking about. I'm going to get them to look at me and ask them a question because I can see the trigger just went, it's starting to go. I have 6 to 10 seconds to catch them. So I'm going to ask them something. And they usually are like, what? And I'll say, so what did you have for dinner last night? I mean, it can be something bizarre.
Yeah,
or it can be something related to what we've been talking about earlier. But they then are going to like, what? And look at me. And now they're wondering why I'm asking them or whatever. And I can play the dumb guy. It's okay. I'm the mediator. So when I ask them something or bring something to their attention or something, they've now instead of going off at the trigger, and it's still in the back of their mind, but now they've just moved to the front of their mind, something that they're working on with me. And I can stop them from flooding. And then sometimes after they flooded, we might be all done because we can't bring it back. And other times after they flooded, they can be okay. But when you feel it coming personally, I mean, some things you can do, you can take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
You can take 3 deep breaths. You can say, I know I'm triggered. I'm about to go. I'm leaving. I'm just going to walk away. And that's an acceptable method. Just, I need to walk away because otherwise I'm going to say or do something I don't want to say or do. There's a technique that if you're going into a meeting and you're worried this might happen, you can use what's called the 5-15-10 rule. You heard about this? 5-15-10 rule? Okay. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to I've got a watch. I'm going to do this with you. The 5-15-10 rule is breathe in for 5 seconds. You're going to hold it for 15 seconds. And you're going to let it out for 10. So you've heard, like, if I'm going down the hall, I'm going to go into this meeting, I'm nervous about it. Take some deep breaths. Well, that has an impact. But this is much stronger. I'll explain it to you in just a moment, but we're going to do it. I'm going to say, breathe in for 5 seconds, and I'll tell you. I'm going to say, hold it for 15, and then I'm going to say, let it out for 10. Now, I've done this, and I've had people respond back to me later and said, I have asthma. This was really hard for me. So I don't want anybody to be negatively impacted in terms of your health. If this isn't good for you, don't do this. But here we go. Are you ready? I want you to breathe in for 5 seconds. And
Okay.
So breathe in. That's with your diaphragm down here. Just breathe in with your diaphragm, and now hold it. You're going to hold it for 15 seconds, and you're not used to doing this. So it seems like a longer time. You're about halfway there right now. So hang on there. And when I say that, let it out slowly through your mouth for 10 seconds. And ready? Now. You just let it out for 10 seconds very slowly. This is the 5-15-10 rule. You're almost there. And you're there. Now, what you've just done is you've given your bloodstream a plug of extra oxygen. And it's working your way through your bloodstream, and it's working your way up to the brain. Now, it turns out you do one of these, it doesn't have much impact. But if you did like 3 of these, I've done this myself. I've been driving at night. I'm tired. And I don't want to fall asleep, but I'm really feeling it.
Mm.
I've done this 3 times, and it's like, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I was a coffee drinker. When you get a cup of coffee, it gives you that hit, you've gotten it. Well, it's not as powerful as a cup of coffee for coffee drinkers, but it does hit you that I am more awake than I was before. And you can actually feel the additional oxygen that made its way into your brain. So the 5-15-10 rule, if I'm going to go into something and I'm thinking this might get tense, a way to make my brain clearer, think more calmly, be more in control, is to do that before I get into that room. Now, clearly, if you had your 10 minutes for meditation beforehand and cleared that prefrontal cortex, that'd be even better. But those are some elements on how the brain works and what you can do in my interaction with different neuroscientists on how to address this.
And it could also be part of it is when you get angry, you probably are breathing shallow. You're probably, you're getting all worked up. And so it makes a lot of sense.